find you very rude.
The Novympia channel is made possible by our gorgeous patrons who get access to the most unappealing crap you'll find anywhere on the whole internet.
Cue the snafu!
I can't clap today because I'm wearing these nice sleeves.
Okay, alright. Hello.
My wife is still in the toilet. Any idea what she's having? It's been a while, so probably a shit.
I love that so much. I don't even know who made it. Sorry, apologies to the person that produced that. Art, quite frankly, is what it is.
Yeah.
And we sing it quite a lot, don't we?
I feel like that's an excellent use of AI.
Excellent. You shouldn't need to use it for anything else other than making artifices.
Artifices.
Like that. Welcome to this episode of Absolute Agony, starring your girls.
Hiya.
Episode 4, is it?
Episode 4.
4? We're already on episode 4. Doesn't
Yeah.
it? Time go fast. And we're thinking, what? There's going to be another episode of all of your... they whinge, don't they? Whine and whinge. And then there's going to be a special episode in October, isn't there? Of Spooky Goings On, where we answer your paranormal quandaries.
Once again, Olympia hasn't introduced us.
Nova, just do it then.
My name is Nova.
She say how she can't be cool. You can't be. You're not used to how we do things on podcasts. Nova's still.
But this isn't a private Patreon podcast.
Yeah.
Lots of people listen to this. So you've
No,
got to
no.
remember that we're hoping this might be reaching people outside of our inner circle.
No, don't be ridiculous. No one's listening. Yes, Nova and Olympia, we are ladies of the internet, and we sit here and attempt to answer your, what are they? Worries and concerns, problem pages.
Yeah.
And they're written in by you, and we are not qualified to do this.
No, we try to approach this with a semi-serious attitude. We try to speak upon personal experiences in relation to your queries, but we are not experts and we're not professionals. So if there ever is a time where you find yourself struggling or something is actually quite a lot and a bit overwhelming, we would always be an advocate for seeking out professional help.
Professional help.
And that is not drag queens on the internet.
We certainly can't give legal advice.
No.
Not that we've ever done that. I'd like to try, though. I wonder where that would go.
wouldn't have a clue.
I wouldn't have a clue. Do you know, law is so complicated. And I feel like people will often, they'll watch How to Get Away with Murder and they think they know stuff. You don't know anything. It's so hard.
Are you people?
Yep. I gave up again. I tried to watch that again recently.
Oh.
I think I finished season 2.
Second season wasn't as good as the
It
first
gets
one.
so daft. I mean, it is daft. I think that's kind of why people
Yeah,
like it. But God, it's
there is a line.
Ridiculous. So, okay, what's the topic of today's chat?
We are talking about, speaking of law and it being difficult, education and studies.
Oh, dear me.
I look back on my
Education. Are you educated? Where are you at with your studies?
Yes. So I have 2 AS levels, 2 A2 levels. So for the children out
I
there,
wouldn't advertise that.
because that doesn't exist anymore. Once upon a time, when you took your A levels in the UK, I don't know what the American equivalent is. Sorry, it's higher education. It's when you finish high school and then you go on to do something just before university.
College.
Is it? I don't know.
I've got no
Maybe, I
idea.
don't know. I don't know what the
No
equivalent
concept.
is. But once upon a time, you used to be able to do half an A level and then drop it or swap it for something else, and it still counted. It was still a qualification. It was still a certificate. It was still UCAS points. You can't do that anymore.
Is that not just sort of like a participation ribbon?
No, it's still a year of studying. You still take exams and do coursework.
I can't verify all of this. I'm going to take your word for it.
So I have an AS in English literature, and I have an A2 in art, photography. Oh, and I've got an AS in fashion and textiles.
So, fashion is an interesting one. You actually studied fashion, and yet...
What do you mean, and yet?
And you wear some of the shit you wear, and you studied it. That's interesting. So you can't teach it, can you?
I did not go on to university like the majority of my peers. I dossed about for a few years before doing a level 2 and then 3 NVQ qualification in ladies hairdressing.
You had all that time and you weren't sleeping around.
No.
That's the time when you should have been sleeping around.
Oh.
I did.
Well, I found you, didn't I?
You did. Was that you sleeping around, was it, when you found me? She was such a slut. Yeah, okay, so English literature you did.
Yes.
And are you an avid reader? Avid bookworm?
No.
The number of times
I used to be.
Nova will pick up a book or something, or someone will send us a book, and she won't read it. She'll say that she'll read it, and she'll be like, "Yeah, absolutely, of course I will."
The last book I read cover to cover was Brittany's autobiography.
I mean, doesn't that just say it all? It's a bit like that yoga mat. You never use that.
I used to read a lot, but I remember literature was amusing and awful because I had a really, really lovely teacher, and he was really attractive as well. And I'd already decided that for my second year that I wanted to focus more on artistic things. And I've already decided I was going to drop English and take fashion instead for the second year. And he pulled me aside and he was like visibly like emotional. Like I think he was, because it was quite a tough school. And he was just asking me like, are you sure I want this to be the right thing for you? And he told me, and I'll never forget this, he was like, you got the highest grade in the entire year.
Oh, he was so upset.
He was like, it doesn't make sense to me that you're dropping this topic. Like, you're my best student.
He pulled you aside specifically to say that.
And I was like, oh, yeah, sorry, I need to go flounce about.
My English teacher pulled me aside and gave me a soft yet passionate kiss.
Oh, what that?
In my head.
Right.
Oh, do you remember when you wouldn't listen to a damn thing the teacher was saying because all you were doing is picturing them without their clothes on?
Well, I did listen to literature. That's why I got good grades.
So what did I do? I went to university.
You went to university.
What did you get at like A-level? What grades do you get? How many is there?
A-level, I got... oh, God, I can't remember now. I got a B in photography, a B in art. I got an A in literature and an A in textile. So basically like an ABB.
You got a B in art, Nova. You get a B for showing up and signing your name on the test.
That was because I was really lazy with the coursework. You had to do essays.
Oh my
you had
God,
to do
the
art
amount
history essays, and I could not ever be asked for that. And it was a substantial portion of your grades.
I remember art being not necessarily a case of like how skilled you were, but it was like a quantity of work you had. There was so much you had to do. Pages and pages of just crap. So I did art. I did English literature. Mm-hmm. I don't know who I don't remember my teachers very well, though. They can't have been very good.
I remember my teachers.
Some of them specifically, but not like towards the end. And my school offered media studies, which did me very well, but I don't think they do it anymore because I think it was considered a bit flimsy.
Did media studies as well.
And I think I might have done IT. Did I do IT? I don't remember. I actually don't remember what I did. Isn't that funny? How do people remember that far back? It was the best part of 20 years ago now.
I also did take biology.
See, that's stupid. Why did you take... Wow.
And I failed that.
Well, I'm not surprised you failed it, Nova.
Because I went into A-levels being like, right, so I need to have some academic subjects to like fall back on just in case like being a flamer and doing like art and photography isn't going to work out.
So hang on a second. You were like, my first gig is going to be as a fashion designer, but if I don't have that, I'll fall back on scientist.
No, I was thinking fashion photographer.
Fashion photographer, but I can always fall back on getting some hours.
Well, I just thought like science and English. Like I couldn't do maths, so I was like having science and English behind me is like a good thing to fall back on.
Okay,
but failed biology.
So I went to university, and I studied television production with a kind of a focus on editing, which would make sense now where we are. Nova, that's so unprofessional. You have to press your tongue on the roof of your mouth.
What?
To stop a sneeze. You know, everyone knows that.
No.
Try it next time and it works.
I don't think that's good for you, though, to keep a sneeze in.
It's not to keep it in, it just gets rid of it. And I didn't love it, my time there. I didn't love it. I ended up... I worked at the Olympics for a bit as a camera operator, like a camera assistant. I really didn't do anything there. And I kind of realised towards the end that they had pushed me towards sports broadcasting. As a result, I think they just were like, oh, everyone's going to work at the Olympics. We'll just teach them how to do sport. And I was like, fuck me, this is a nightmare.
I remember you saying that it lacked the creativity you were hoping for.
I hated it. It was so like you just are put in these crews with people, which I guess is very realistic to real life.
You're
If
just
gonna
a cog in the machine.
If you're going to be working in the TV industry, you're one of many. But I think the thing is, when you're in that industry, it's people who actually kind of know what they're talking about, you would like to think, because they're already in it. But it was just these students, and people were so like hardcore trying to prove themselves. There were some absolute assholes, and I just really struggled to like work with anyone. So I just started drinking and shagging.
Drinking and shagging.
Smugging. Right. So hopefully we'll have a bit of
Yes,
experience.
I think we've got quite a good combination with you going to university and myself doing an apprenticeship. I think that's a good
Well, we'll see what happens,
rounded,
I guess.
yes.
And we've got 4 Leonards today, have we? Who have got some questions for us. So shall we start with the first Leonard?
Let's go.
Here are your Leonards.
Okay, we'll start off with a really, really short one, but that doesn't mean it's an easy one to answer.
Got it.
Okay. Well, yes, hi, hello there, Novympia.
Hello.
Something that has been playing on my mind, but not sure how to deal with, is that I've graduated from the Open University, Bachelor's of Science, Social Sciences. Is the Open University the one that you do from home? You don't actually, like, go in person to, like, lectures?
I've always
something?
understood that it's online, so you
Yeah.
can do it from anywhere.
And the Open University is, like, it's more mature students, and you can do it at
So hang on, they've
home.
got a what? A bachelor's?
Bachelor's of Science in Social Sciences.
I mean, do you understand what that means?
No.
So I remember getting a degree, and it was a Bachelor of Arts. Oh, why do they have to make it so poncy sounding? What the
Because
hell
you did
does...
television, so that would come under the arts.
But
wouldn't it?
bachelor, what does that mean, a bachelor?
That's the degree.
Social sciences means what? Like looking after kids and stuff? Or
Don't
like
know.
going into care, maybe?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I now have a case of imposter syndrome. How would you guys advise me to be able to accept that I have genuinely achieved something? Lots of love from
Leonard.
Sheldon.
Sheldon. Okay, we'll call them Sheldon. Listen, Leonard. I actually think that's of 2 ends of the same spectrum. The much more preferable position to be in that you have imposter syndrome, because I mean, Lord knows the number of people who are very, very arrogant about something where they fully, maybe they don't, maybe it's a little bit of the same, but they are very vocal about, oh, well, actually, I have a degree in this. Actually, yeah, I studied that for a long time. I really know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
A lot of those people, though, don't really have the confidence they're portraying. It can be an overcompensation.
Never really had the confidence to wear a skirt. Yeah, but, you know, I think that's not the worst position to be in.
Modest.
Modest is the thing. I think you can absolutely be modest, and, you know, that's quite an admirable thing, that you think you're sort of not deserving. I think a lot of people feel like they're very deserving of a lot of things and are very entitled.
Well, not even necessarily not deserving. Like, they just can't believe that they've
done it. Well, what I would say is, though, you're presumably going to go into this field. It's a shame that we don't know what really that means. Social sciences. Yeah. Yeah. Like therapists. You'd need to study like psychology. Maybe it's something to do with like psychology or caring for kids or something.
I do think, though, that once you start working in this field,
That will go away real quick.
you'll be like, oh, this is now my new routine. I am part of this industry. I'm contributing towards this. This is my job. This is the new normal. This is me.
Honestly, it's probably the crappiest advice ever, but I think it's pretty on the money. Don't be too concerned about that feeling, because it will just go away. It's fresh. It's very new and fresh. Do you know, I had that. I really had that. Because my degree that I got, I don't actually remember. I think I got a 2-1, which is like the second rung down. But honestly, I was surprised it was even that high. Because I fully left that degree feeling like I didn't do anything and hadn't really learned anything because I hated it so much. So that was in there a bit. But then I suddenly realised, like, okay, but I am editing videos, like I am using the shit that I learned. So maybe I was being a bit sort of hard on myself. And now I don't even think about it.
I think it gets to a point where I had this a little bit when I finished my NVQ, my level 3 NVQ. You kind of feel like, oh, you're expecting a feeling of accomplishment and experience when you finish. You keep telling yourself, when I finish my degree, when I finish this, I'm going to know everything about this, and I'm going to be ready to go, and I'm going to be like my seniors that are experienced like for tens of years. And it's not. And you finish and you get that certificate and you feel exactly the same way, and you still feel a little bit nervous when you have to use these skills, because it just takes a bit of time. And you can't, you need that experience, and nothing else can do that other than time and doing it. And everybody else feels exactly the same way in that position.
So
it's
dive on in, the water's fine.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be too worried about it.
No.
It's the only thing. I think everyone feels like that, at least from time to time. And especially in your position, I think most people feel that way.
Don't let it hold you back either from job opportunities. Just always put yourself out there. Always go for things.
Fib on your
Let
CV.
other people tell you no. Don't set yourself up for failure before you even begin. Let other people say, oh, actually, we're looking for someone more experienced. Like, just go for it. You have earned this. You have done this. So
fake it till you make it a little bit. You can. Even if you don't feel that way. Other people, if they're giving you the job, clearly feel that you can do it. So just jump into it. Jump into fun on the farm.
Gosh.
And just get on with it, really. I don't know if it's anyone...
just get on with
fucking get on with it. You whinge and they whine and whinge. I wonder if there are any people who studied with you that you can be like, do you feel like you don't know anything? Because chances are if you reach out, maybe they'll be like, I don't know a damn thing. But, then you're all in the same boat. Do you feel like you know anything?
I know things.
That you've studied and then you were like, oh... Because you studied hairdressing but gave some real tricky haircuts.
Well, yeah, because how else can you learn?
You did it on me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your father thought that it was a good idea that you and that one other trainee fucker take one side of my head each.
My father is a very good hairdresser. He's a very poor teacher. He doesn't really know how to teach.
I looked like Ava Max.
He kind of just expects people to get it, and he just kind of goes like, off you go. He's not, and it's not just in hairdressing, just in general, like he's not a very good teacher. He wants to do everything himself, or just you do it all, and then he doesn't compute when you're like, I don't understand.
Shocking. That was so shocking.
But that is...
I think that's where we're at with that, Leonard.
Yeah.
Don't worry too much about it. Everyone probably feels that way. And it will probably go away sooner than you think when you get a job and you realise, actually, you can do it. Because if they've given you... They wouldn't have given you that degree if you...
Absolutely.
You clearly put the work in. Yeah. And you're just a bit nervous about leaving that all behind and going out into the real world. But aren't we all, Poppet? We are speaking to Phil Collins's people. But then again...
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all? Shall we try another Leonard?
Yeah, all right. Okay. See what your thoughts are on this.
Okay, I cannot stop with that. Hello, sir, can I take your orders? Really reverberate around my mind. Hopefully they'll go away soon.
All I've got in my head at the moment is, all the girls are girling. All the girls are girling.
What's wrong with
all
us?
the girls are girling.
Okay.
All the girly girls.
Okay, that song's so terrible.
You.
Get out of here!
Dearest Lump and Nova.
I don't like that.
I'm 22, trans woman, bloody hate my uni degree. I have hated it since first year, but due to family pressures, I have been unable to leave or change course. I'm on a primary education course. I'm now in year 5, had to repeat my final year due to some personal issues. I hate what I do, and every day I have to go in and smile and pretend I like to be there. I've learned so much shite I cannot apply or use. I have been bombarded with criticism about the way I look and talk. I'm extremely limited in self-expression. As a trans person, I'm silenced from talking about who I am or the community I'm a part of in fears parents will react negatively. I'm nearly finished and I'm counting down the days till I am. But now I'm nearly 23 and have no direction on where to go. I have wasted 5 years on a degree I hate for a job I hate. What am I actually meant to do? All the best.
Very, very difficult position that you find yourself in, Leonard.
This doesn't help you in your position now, but if anybody finds themselves in a similar position, maybe earlier on in the course, leave the course.
Jump ship. Now, there's a lot of things that I can sort of pick out of that mirror what I felt at the time, because I didn't like what I was doing either.
How long was your course?
3 years.
See, that's a little bit different.
It's a little bit different, but I left thinking, I hate that. I think the thing that really stands out to me is that you're like, I've wasted 5 years. Because I came out of my whole experience with so much that I'd actually learned nothing to do with the course, nothing to do with like television production.
Things that aren't relevant.
But I learned so much about what I do want to do and the kind of people I want to be around and the kind of like experiences I want to carve out for myself. I think firstly, consider the things you have learned.
There's got to be life experiences that you've had in these 5 years. There's got to be experience within just the working like world.
Yeah. And also don't put too much pressure and emphasis on I've wasted 5 years, because I felt guilty, the anxiety, the dread that would come in when I was like, my parents are expecting this of me and I failed them and I don't want to do this and like I've wasted all my youth. And you're still young. Like it's not that big a deal that you feel that you've wasted all this time, because you haven't really. And there are so many people who find what they want to do and then become successful so much later in life. And yeah, you know, you'd rather that you were one of the lucky ones who can just nail it when they're 18 and then everything falls in their lap and everything goes lovely. But it just doesn't work out that way for a lot of people. So
I want to say that having a degree is a huge achievement, and that is something that you should be proud of, and it is useful. Having a degree, doesn't matter what it is in, having that piece of paper can open a lot of doors for you, whether it's like visas or other job requirements. It doesn't always necessarily matter what the degree is in. Just the fact that you've had it proves that you can study at that level, proves that you are educated to that point, that you have that self-discipline. So that is still great that you have that under your belt. So that is not useless and that's not a waste of time. I would also say, if you hate teaching, don't teach. Do not feel like, I've got this now, so I have to use it. Go and do something else.
What do they say? Those who can do, those who can't teach.
If this is making you miserable, if you hate it, don't do it. Don't do it.
There's nothing wrong with, this is what we did, there's nothing wrong with eating crow, and you could get a job using what you've, you know, your skill set and your degree, and getting a job as a stepping stone to something else, because you can use that time and it will be a slog.
Sure. Yeah.
You can save some money up, figure out what it is you really want to do. And maybe you don't know what you want to do, but what is that adage? Figure out what you love the most in life and then figure out a way to make money from it.
I feel like teaching, though, can so easily suck you up. So I would be very careful starting to get a job in teaching, because I feel like that can become all consuming and you may not have the mental capacity all the time to think about another profession.
Is there
so
something
I would just
you
be
can
careful.
You can do using it which isn't actually a teacher? Like, can you then train other teachers, or is
That's
there
a good
something
idea.
you
can
do
you go
where,
into training? That's a great idea.
where your own sort of serenity is protected and you don't have to deal with parents or something? There might be something in that avenue, and again, that could also just be a stepping stone to something else. I just wouldn't worry too much about, this is now how I've set up my life and I have to live it this way, because you just don't have to. You can just be a little stepping stone to something better for you.
Are there any charities that are doing work in terms of LGBTQ people and rights within schools? I imagine there must be some groups somewhere in the country that I'm sure would love to have you on board, would love to have the input from somebody who comes from that world, comes from education, comes from teaching. I think maybe that would be a good avenue for you to go down in your experience, and how, because you have to do work experience, don't you, to get this degree? I'm sure you do. So you've been in a classroom, you've been a teaching assistant, I'm fairly certain. So you will have experiences on how that's going on in your local schools.
Maybe
that
that's
might be
your
interesting
first
to research.
thing then, is how can you use what you have, but not actually do exactly the thing you don't want to do? There must be other avenues.
Because you know now this is not a good experience for yourself as a trans woman. You know that you've learned that. So how can we change that?
But take a breather. Honestly, all of those things that are swirling around your head, just take a breather, because most of it isn't true. And you put so much pressure on yourself. You got enough on your plate. You put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect and have everything mapped out, and also according to what other people want, which is so annoying when you're young. You listen to so many people and you try and please so many people without really stopping and thinking like, what actually is the best way forward for me? Like, a lot of people just don't do that because they're not really told that.
Also, it's very difficult when you're like 18 to figure out what career you want to do for the rest of your life.
You don't have to. You don't have to figure it out.
So don't feel guilty either if you just end up with a job for a bit that literally just pays the bills.
Just pays the bills.
And is, I hate saying this, I'm doing air quotes, like an unskilled job. They're all skilled. That's not what I mean. I mean a job that doesn't require...
Nova's a snob.
Pre-training, like stuff that you can get training on the job. Something that doesn't require like a degree or an NVQ or a...
Yeah. Nova's saying get on the job. Is that what you say? Get on the game and
get on the game.
On the game, girls on the game. I think that's do you remember at school when you are told these are the most important exams you will ever take in your whole life? Your entire future is depending on this, and they really shove it up your ass with all that, and you become so pressured, and then you think, okay, this is a stepping stone to that, and that will be my entire life mapped out. I do think there's no other way of doing it because obviously you have to go into education when you're young. It's just the only way that it works.
But don't feel like it's the be all and end all. You can retrain.
Figuring out what you want to do that young it's a bit unrealistic, isn't it? Especially because people have such kind of pipe dreams and they feel like they want to end up being, something that's and having so much kind of ambition, which is great. But then you get a bit older and you just think like, but actually I'd probably rather just do that, or you'd rather do something else. It doesn't pan out the way. I'd like to see a statistic in terms of if you're asked when you're like 18 years old, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm training for this. How many people then actually end up doing that? I bet it's really low.
Yeah.
I bet it's hella low.
I want to say as well, and again, I'm sorry that this doesn't help yourself in your position that you're in, but really, like, people that are feeling like this early on, I think there's got to be a cutoff. You can't just stay in something like this. You can't stay in a 5-year course hating it. That's madness. I know you had personal issues. I know you've had family pressures, so that's slightly different. But if anyone else can feel themselves falling into this trap, you cannot spend 5 years in a course you hate.
And you'll probably know as well, because after the first year, you might think like, oh, this is tricky. This isn't quite right. And it might kind of level itself out, and you'll get to a point where you're like, maybe it was just nerves holding me back, or I had to get over something.
Do the first year, because everyone says like, oh, first year doesn't count.
Yeah, so stick it out. Nova's not saying just throw in the towel straight away.
No, but like 5 years is a very long course.
5 years is long. That is long, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think, the first thing you need to get in the back of your mind is just do not panic. It's not all done and dusted. That's your life done with.
Yeah.
You can change, and it's easier said than done. Yes, it will require a lot of thought and planning on your part, but it can be achieved, and we also think that you will manage to do it.
Absolutely.
So we wish you all the best, Leonard, with that. And
you can do it.
Godspeed. Nova, I'd like another Leonard.
Are you going to be able to help this person without doing the accent?
What? I don't know. Probably not. No. Let's say no. I'm going to say no.
Hi, girls. I need some advice. I'm in secondary school. How old are we in secondary school? Secondary school is like year...
Secondary school is
6, 7, 8.
So I find this fascinating because Nova's school structure was so different to mine. And I think yours is in the minority of schools that do it.
I don't think that's true.
So let's just go through this.
So I had first school, which was 1, 2, 3, 4.
Does that not include reception?
Yes.
Reception 1, 2, 3, 4.
I have been to first schools though where reception's like technically like a separate thing. It's like the building next door, but like it's
first school. Do they not call it infant school?
For me, it was first school.
Okay, that's already fucked up. Okay, so what's
then middle school?
I hate this.
Which is 5, 6, 7, 8.
That to me is outrageous.
It's 4 and 4.
Yeah, but the idea that you've got kids in year 5 going to school with kids in year 8, the jump in maturity is astounding to me. And then you had what, 9, 10, 11?
Then 9, 10, 11. And then I had a sixth form on the same site. It was like obviously like a separate building, but my upper school, it was called, had a sixth form. So 12 and 13 would also use the same facilities, the same classrooms.
So you had 3 separate schools?
Yeah.
And are they all part of the same thing? Like they all have the same name? They're all completely different.
No. But they were like, they obviously like you have feeder schools that go into the upper school, don't you? So they were like
Feeder?
This is the same around the country. So you'll have like several first schools that will go to a smaller amount of middle schools that will go to a smaller amount of upper schools because they progressively get larger, these schools.
Okay.
So they feed up. So when you went to like the next school, you would see other kids from like other feeder schools. That would be like
Well, I guess to be fair, so I grew up in a town, so there were three. There was infant school, which is reception 1 and 2. That's infant school.
Tiny.
Very small. Then there was primary school, which is 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
Then there was, in my head, we called it high school, but that sounds very American now, thinking about it. Secondary school, possibly, maybe, which was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 5 years you're there.
That's enormous.
It's long. And then there was sixth form, or like you could go to a college for the final 2.
The sixth form would be like 12 and 13.
But like in my town, there was Woodcote Infant School, Woodcote Junior School, and Woodcote High School, it was called. Yeah, it was called High School.
I went to Three-Legged Cross First School, West Smalls Middle, then Ferndown Upper. But there was also a Ferndown Middle.
We're going to need so many comments, please, if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're from the UK, was your school system like mine or like Nova's? Because Nova's to me is so weird.
Right.
So this is a young Leonard in high school.
Secondary school.
So we can assume...
So I would say, like, I would, like, not doing GCSEs yet. Or maybe doing GCSEs.
It depends on what the rest of maybe the rest of it will give us a clue.
Okay.
There's no age then.
I've got 2 years left of school before I go to college. Okay, so they are year 9.
9.
So they haven't
13.
started.
So they're like 14 then.
They haven't started GCSEs yet. It's the year just before GCSEs.
So they must be about 14.
Okay. I'm in secondary school. I'm a boy, and I'm from Ireland.
Oh no, and they're gay?
I've known that I'm gay for many years now, but I've never been open about it to anyone before.
Okay.
It's not that I'm not in a safe place to be out as gay, as I know my family friends would be supportive based on how they've talked about the community. I've always been a bit feminine growing up and have been asked before in the past if I'm gay, but I, for some reason, have sort of a mental block and always say no. Because I always say no, I now think that maybe I've dug myself too deep into acting straight. What do you girls think I should do, as I only have 2 years left of school before I go to college, where I do believe I can have some sort of a fresh start, but I always think that I'll be much happier being out now. I've always had it in my head that I shouldn't come out until I make out with another boy, but I don't see that happening anytime soon, as there is no other gays my age, at least that I know of, in my area. What should I do? Sincerely, Leonard. This is adorable. First of all, thank you for writing in, because I feel like that must have taken a lot of courage to do.
John. Have you heard about her, John? Thanks, John, for writing in. So John is probably about 14, 15 years old, which are the worst years, aren't they? That's so awkward and sweaty, right in the middle. Because when you're 12, 13, you're still like a kid. It's still fun and you're jumping around and being stupid. When you're like 18, 19, you have the independence where you can go out in the world, start drinking and start kind of figuring some shit out. In the middle, that's the worst. I think being 14 is such a hideous age. So, especially being gay as well, that's tricky. Do you remember being 14 and gay?
I'm trying to remember how old I was when I
Awful.
first came out. I think I was probably a similar age, you know.
You didn't know. You didn't come out when you were that young. I thought you only told your you told your friends, though.
Oh, I was out to everyone but my parents.
Okay. When did you come out?
I was in year 9.
Probably a similar age then. Oh, it's a lot
But
earlier
I was
than I
a
did.
year ahead.
Nova loves to point out that she was a year ahead because she got put up a year. Or were you taken down a year?
Put up a year.
You were taken down a year ahead. I think the thing we need to highlight with this one is lovely, and I was the same, and I bet you were exactly the same, and to be honest, a lot of people are, but it makes no difference, is that when you are young and gay and closeted, the fact that you know your parents will be supportive and you know your friends will be supportive, it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, it doesn't make it any less scary.
I don't know why that is. It really needs to be a thing where if parents and friends and stuff maybe suspect, they need to vocalize maybe a little bit more.
I always wish my parents asked me. I always wish
vocalize a little bit more. This isn't for you, John. This is for your parents. That it's absolutely fine. Nothing will change. And just be very, very pro-gay a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then it will just be so much easier, won't it?
Were you out at school?
Was I buggery bollocks?
You weren't?
Well, sixth form I was.
Oh, wow, okay.
My school was all boys and very, very homophobic. So there was no way. Not only was I not out, I was barely, conscious. I grew my hair in front of my face. I sat in the corner. I did not ever raise my hand. I didn't speak. Very, very rarely would I speak because I thought I had a gay voice. So even speaking would give me away. So it was absolutely the opposite. And I knew my parents would be fine. Absolutely, I knew. I knew all my friends would absolutely love it. And they did. It was such a novelty for a while. They loved it. But again, it was like, nope, nothing to do with me. Not going to happen. So I think the first thing then we need to look at is that there is no time frame. And even if you have a plan in your mind, don't panic that it's like you think you're wasting time or I'm lying to people or there's any guilt or anything. Sometimes the plan will pan out. Sometimes it happens more spontaneously.
This, I've always had in my head that I shouldn't come out until I make it with another boy, is silly. That's really, really silly.
You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself, and it does not need to be that way.
You don't need to have made out with a boy to know that you're gay.
You waited for me to tell your parents, though. You used me as an excuse to do it.
Yeah, so I basically waited until I felt like I had a serious boyfriend.
Did you ever have a serious boyfriend?
Time will tell.
Time will tell on that one. We're still in the exciting phase.
It sounds like you're in a good position because you've not mentioned anybody that might react badly to this. You've not mentioned any school bullies or anything like that. You've just said that your family and friends would be supportive based on how they've talked about the community, and that it's not that I'm not in a safe place. So you sound like you're in a really good position. I would be inclined to encourage you to come out now. I think you'd be much happier.
First of all, there's no pressure from Nova. She's very pressurizing.
There is no pressure.
She's very pressurizing.
There is no pressure, but I would be inclined to do that. I think you're lucky, the position that you're in, that you seem to have good people around you. I think you would really, really have a much happier time with your last 2 years of school.
I think you will feel encouraged to do it when you listen to vis-a-vis the following. Look at this. What you said about you've dug yourself in deeper. The closet is a certain space. It doesn't get bigger. It doesn't get smaller. It is just the closet. It has a hardwood back to it. It has some lovely wooden veneer sides. And it is one size. It doesn't change. You don't get rid of it and buy a bigger closet. There's no digging yourself in deeper. You're in the closet or you're out of it. So if you do come out, no one is going to hold it against you. No one's going to be like, God, you really were lying to us, or you were going on with that for ages and ages.
The worst thing that's going to happen,
they'll get it
from you acting straight for so long, is that people are going to be surprised. No one's going to say, "How dare you?"
They might not even be that surprised.
They might not even be that
honestly,
surprised.
Doll, you are not the first person to come out, and you will not be the last. Mm-hmm. You're just one of a string of people that have to go through this very traumatic thing. But once it's over with, the wave of it's like stepping into the sea, and a wave just comes over you, and the weight that is lifted is just so incredible. You can breathe.
And do you know what? You're not going to be making out with any other boys your age if they don't know that you're gay.
First of all, let's talk about that. Stay off the apps. You're too fucking young. Don't go on
there
it.
Very well may be other gay boys at your school in the same position as you, and if they know, so-and-so's just come out.
You might get a little message and be like, can we hold hands in the park?
Well, that's a bit, yes.
That's how it starts.
You might
Novympia.
suddenly realise.
Very innocent.
Oh, there are others.
Yes. I think let's really weigh up here what's the solid things we're suggesting here. Do not put the pressure on yourself to do it right here, right now, just because we're kind of encouraging you to.
I think pick like one close confidant, first of all, whether that's a family member or a best friend.
I'd use a friend. Tell a friend.
Pick one person first. And then that very first time will give you a bit of a taste as to like what it's like. And then that is like the biggest weight.
If you can think in your mind of who will take it the best to who will take it the worst, start with that person who's going to take it the best.
Yes.
The more people that know, it then becomes easier to tell more people.
Yes.
I remember I came out to... We were going to a like a prom situation. It wasn't my school though, or like a Christmas party or something at a golf club. And I brought along a flask of vodka, and that was right at the beginning when I started drinking, and I wasn't aware that you had to mix spirits.
You don't have to.
Well, you don't have to, but nobody told me this. So I used to buy a flask of neat vodka and put a straw in it. And I would drink neat vodka.
That is so vile.
You take a teenager, and I was very thin at this point. I know it's hard to believe, but I was very skinny. Who's never drunk alcohol before, very, very skinny, and give them neat vodka. You can imagine immediately, 10 minutes in, 10 minutes, if that, you're bouncing off the walls. So we're walking to this golf club. It was like pitch black outside, and we're all walking with our friends. It was hysterical. Everyone's drinking in it. And I told my friend Ellie was the first I told.
Aww.
You remember Ellie?
Yes.
Beautiful, the sweetest, gentlest person I've ever known. Very, very sweet and lovely. And she looks a bit like an Olsen twin.
She does.
And I told her, because I was like, you know what? There are several. I mean, I was lucky because I had a group of friends and I knew that it'd all be fine, but I told her. And then her boyfriend came over. And I made a little joke about it. And he said something like, well, I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about it. I'm pretty sure everyone knows anyway. Which is a hit and miss comment. Everyone already knows. It's a hit and miss comment. Because if someone's chosen you to come out to, the thing you really want to sort of put the point on is they've chosen you. Mm-hmm. So they obviously think a lot about you. Don't just waft it off by going, everyone knows. You have to really take in the moment and offer that you're thankful that they told you and they chose you and that you'll love them and all of those things.
It's such a big moment to the person coming out that I don't think straight people necessarily will ever comprehend that. So it's a lot to ask of people. And obviously that's the ideal situation. But the chances are it's going to be more of like, oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, don't just brush it off and say, yeah,
that's
I know.
Probably
that's
going to happen there. And that's fine.
I mean, if you want to get that point across, that's okay. But as long as that's not like the only thing you kind of say, because you have to bear in mind, this person that's chosen you to do this to will have played this out in their mind for years.
They're expecting a long conversation following this. They want to talk about things.
The center of the conversation, and you have to sort of really sort of go overboard and make them feel like they're getting everything they need. And then when we got to this prom, my cousin was there because she went to this school. And I was like, well, I've told all of them. I'll tell her. And then from then on, it just spiraled and spiraled. But if you have someone that you can tell just to dip your toe in, I'd do that. I wouldn't worry too much about it. And certainly don't put any kind of weird goal on, I can only do it if I've made out with someone. Because, I mean, that's tricky. Where are they? They hide amongst us.
I remember I just very, very, gradually drip fed the information to my friends.
Who did you tell
from
first?
My inner circle, outwards, and just gradually.
Did you tell Kat first?
No, because I started coming out before I really knew Kat very well. I met Kat maybe a year or two.
You came out
afterwards
to that one friend of yours who then came out to you. No, wasn't there that one friend that you went to school with? Yeah, and he was also gay. Probably because you were hanging around. Chances are, if you've got any male friends at school and you're hanging around with them,
for sure, you'd be very surprised.
Aren't they probably gay as well?
As time goes on, there's so many of them that actually end up being gay.
They all come together and be friends because they have similar... You're like, oh, I don't care about football. Let's talk about Victoria Beckham.
One of the first people I told was my sister as well. Rachel was one of the first people
who just married a woman. Hysterical.
She had, ironically now, has just married a woman. Yeah.
Hysterical.
But it was just a gradual thing. And then by the time sixth form came around, I was just completely open. It used to be like, if you're friends with me, I'll tell you da-da-da-da. But it was almost like a need to know kind of situation.
Leonard,
but then
John...
sixth form, I was just completely out.
Yeah, well, you can't really hide that, can you? John, try and take the pressure off it a bit.
Yeah.
We all put so much pressure and so much importance on it when it's a significant thing in a person's life, but it really is not that big a deal. And certainly now, today, it really shouldn't be that big a deal. Try and take the pressure off it. Try and find maybe one friend you can just like test drive it with.
If you keep having goalposts as to when you're going to come out, whether it's when you go to college, when you make out with a boy, you're always going to be moving these goalposts. I think now is as good a time as ever.
And when you come out and you feel, I'm telling you, you'll comment in hopefully not that long a time, or whenever you feel comfortable, you'll comment. And you'll be like, yeah, you were right. I did feel the warm lavender breeze come over me when you come out. And you suddenly feel like a new woman, don't you? I did. There was a slight skip in my step.
What's that?
And then they really knew. They were like, oh, yeah.
Hopefully that is helpful. Hopefully
all
that's
the best.
Put a smile on your face.
All the
You've
best,
got
John.
This. You can
You've
do this.
got it. Or John.
Are you ready for our final, Leonard?
I don't know if I'm ready for the final. I don't want it to be over with. Oh.
That's good because we're going to be shooting the next episode.
They didn't need to know that, did they? That we're doing 2 in 1 today.
Hi, Nova and Olympia. You can, of course, call me Leonard for this.
Hi, Leonard.
I'm 18 and female. I'm currently in my second year of college studying science and law. I have been struggling a lot with juggling study and everything else in my life. I have one good best friend who I see every day and a boyfriend that I see on the weekends. I don't do a lot after college or when I have free time during the week, but I still cannot find any motivation to do any schoolwork or coursework. I wondered if you have any advice on this. When I do get around to doing coursework, I just feel like I'm missing out on other things. I want to do well at college, of course, and when I do the coursework and exams, I tend to do quite well. I need some way of feeling motivated to just get off my ass and do it. Any advice? Thanks so much, girlies. We were talking about this just the other day. We can so relate. I think we felt the same way.
I've got a good tip for this. Because there are some times, I find this with the faves and shitters. We do a video series where we will discuss 3 things we love, 3 things we don't. Mm-hmm. But because that's a lot to get through, the video file ends up being sometimes over an hour. So I'll plonk that on the timeline to try and get that down to like 30, 40 minutes. Is a lot of editing in 1 week, especially with all the cutaways and stuff. And sometimes I look at that and just think, oh, god damn, that's a lot of work. And I will procrastinate, I'll go and make a cup of tea, or I'll whatever it is, just to kind of like not stare at this footage, which never seems to get any lower and lower. And whatever work you have to do, if you've got nothing to look forward to necessarily at the weekend or of an evening or whatever it is, it sometimes feels like doing the work is you're missing out on something more fun that you can be doing, right? That's basically the point of what's happening there. You're missing out on something fun that could be happening, and it makes you want to do the work even less. So I have always been a very strong supporter, Nova, of the sort of make it a treat moment. Make it a treat. Have yourself a treat.
I think I was going to say something similar.
Something to look forward to. Now, that's easier said than done.
You've got to have rewards.
You've got to have rewards. It doesn't necessarily mean you've got to go out and get hammered or spend a load of money on a new outfit or spend any money, really. You just have to have something as a waypoint to break up all the monotony and all the studying or all the work or whatever it is with something that is a treat. Is there an opportunity to meet with a friend and go for a walk in the park?
Can I advise some sort of timetable?
Oh no, Nova.
We're studying. I think we need a timetable. Then you can say, okay, so at this time on this day, I'm going to be studying this. I'm going to be doing this. Because then you can also schedule in these rewards. You can split it up. And then you know yourself, I've done 1 hour of studying. So now I can go do whatever I want. If you break it up into smaller pieces, it doesn't feel so big and overwhelming. I think that's something that I do even today, is try to break things up into smaller tasks and interrupt them with fun things to do. I remember when I was at school, I used to do like 2 hours of studying and then, I don't know which way around it was actually, it might have been the other way around, and then an hour of playing the PlayStation. Like, it was just to break it up
I
as
think
a
that's
reward.
only works if your brain is wired in that kind of super organized way, because that will work for Nova. That would not work for me at all.
Well, maybe don't have an official timetable, but I still think the idea of breaking things up into smaller tasks.
If there's
give yourselves like hour chunks of
like a
coursework
plan in place where you just think like, right, I really should get to this point, have this amount done. And also, I think there's something to be said for knowing you have something to look forward to, knowing you're going to go meet someone or go out for lunch or go for a glass of wine with someone or whatever it is. Knowing that really puts a fire under my ass, because it's like, oh God, it would be great if I could get this amount done before we go for and do this exciting thing, go to the movies or have someone round or whatever it is.
I just know that I find it much easier to be motivated to complete, say, 10% of a task if it's only going to take me an hour, then leave it to the last minute and have to do like 75% of it in an evening. Like, that will absolutely drive me insane.
The pressure.
And the idea of it makes me feel ill. Whereas lots of little tasks are so much easier, because it's like, oh, well, it's only going to take a little, and then it's done. And then it's all done.
Make sure if you're studying and working, I think it's always a great idea to have a little snack, something to just sort of like whet your appetite, something that's a bit nice and something to sort of help you along a bit, because we all need a bit of assistance.
I don't know where you're living either at the moment, but try and study and socialise and chill out in different places.
And
try and study at like a library or like an office or something.
Mix it up. Have creature comforts around you as well. So you can mix up, you can go to the library. Perhaps if you're working, you can listen to a lovely soundtrack or something, just to kind of like break it up, do different things. A little snack. Maybe you'll try like a nice new carbonated beverage to try and be like, oh, you know what, this afternoon I'm going to try that. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to put on like the Gladiator soundtrack I like to listen to when I edit. And then sometimes I'll be like, I'll prepare myself a nice beverage. And then, on the hour, I'm going to have a yogurt.
Our version of this today is editing 100%, but it's always the idea of it is so much worse than like actually doing it.
Crack on with it.
Right at the beginning, before you started, you think, oh my God, I've got this whole video to do for this weekend. But then as you're doing it, you think, oh, actually, I am now getting through it. It's just, I understand what you're saying. It's just the motivation to actually start it and get on with it.
Have stuff around you, have crap around you, have music on. And then I think, knowing that you have something to look forward to. Because this works with, we had a friend many, many years ago who was like, oh, I'm really struggling at the moment. I just think like everything is a slog, going to work or like doing these projects around the house. Like everything just feels like it's never ending. And I was like, you're putting so much pressure on all this. You don't have anything to look forward to. You don't have anything. So 9 times out of 10, I mean, it will be unfortunate if we have to work over a weekend and we can't do anything that weekend. That is kind of unfortunate, because then the week just starts again and it all kind of rolls into it. But if we have one thing that we can look forward to,
even if it's like, oh, we're going to get a Chinese takeaway tonight.
Yes, and we're quite fortunate because we have what we like to call Bebs, which is an evening when Kat and Megan will come round and we can chew the shit and watch a movie.
Yeah, and we've got that to break up the week.
Get takeout or something. And that's usually, if all else fails, that's our kind of like waypoint where we can check in and have a breather and we put the work down and everything. And that's what we kind of look forward to. So that day, like yesterday, I was editing like crazy because I was like, I really want to get as much done before they come around. And if it's working and studying that you're doing and you find that nothing's going in, you can always put something to a song.
I'm a big, big supporter of that. That's what I used to do.
Put it to a song. I lived with a girl and she really could not remember this, like, acronym, is it? Is it an acronym?
Maybe. I used to find vocabulary much easier to put to a melody.
And if you have to try and remember something but you can't, come up with a stupid song. And she was studying.
Or just take a pop song and put the words to the pop song.
What was she doing? And she could not remember this word. So I just grabbed her by the shoulders and I shouted it in her face and I was like, this word sounds a bit like vagina. And I just stared at her and I just kept repeating it. And she told me the next day, she was like, this came up on an exam. And I got to it and I was like, oh my God, I remember the word because you said it out loud and then sung it in a weird way and said vagina on the end of it. And I was like, you are fucking welcome. So weird shit like that. But try and break it up. Little fun things here and there can really do a lot of good. I love listening to Enya when I edit.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a song, but it's not distracting.
So I really like to listen to music when I work, but when I'm editing, I cannot bear it.
It depends
I find it
really what it is.
distracting.
But if it's like a soundtrack, there's some music going, but it's not like I couldn't listen to something really heavy. It would have to be something very kind of like la la, plinky plonky.
If I'm styling like a wig or something, or doing something more artistic, then absolutely music. But editing, I cannot.
No.
No.
I wonder if any of that was useful to you, Leonard.
I think so.
And I guess, how old did they say they were?
18.
18.
Second year of college.
I think the whole studying and partying shit. Also, again, this is kind of the same that we've spoken about in the previous two. You put a lot of pressure on yourself. It won't be like that always. And you are going to miss out on going to certain events and parties and stuff. But I think that's quite character building, because if you go to every single party like I did, I suffered in a lot of other areas. So it is about trying to find balance. And now is when you'll kind of like wire yourself to be like, all right, look, I'm not going to go to this. I'm not going to go to this. I'll go to that one. The rest of the time I'll work. And that's how you just kind of learn to balance stuff. And it's frustrating, but it won't be forever. You'll get there. You'll find a nice middle ground eventually.
I've just read here as well. I don't do a lot after college or when I have free time during the week, but I still can't find any motivation to do schoolwork. So
Find something.
try, like when you have a college day, try to tack on some studying and coursework immediately after you finish. Like, don't go home,
Very
go
good.
to the library, go to a classroom somewhere and do an hour or two straight after college and treat it as part of the college day. And then afterwards be like, oh, now I've got the evening free.
Yeah.
Try and tack it onto
Yeah.
something that you have to go to. I think that's a really good idea.
And find
as
your
well.
passion. You're obviously finding it. When you say that you've got nothing to do, if you're someone that has a day, I mean, if we have a day off, we will
We've
probably
got hobbies
know
to fill it with.
exactly what it is we want to do, because we've
Yeah.
kind of, we're older obviously, so we've kind of got to a point where we know what we love doing. 18, this harkens back to, you weren't sure what you wanted to do with your life. You're still figuring it out. 18, you're a child,
Yeah.
basically. I didn't really consider that I was probably an adult until I was like 26, if we're all being honest. Let's all be quite honest about that. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea. I relied on other people being like, oh, let's go here or something. Get on Google. You'll figure it out. It's just difficult being a teenager.
Yeah.
I think that's the bottom line.
Also, it's very easy for parents to call you lazy and just be like, "Well, just do it." But
Fuck that.
I remember feeling exactly the same way. You just get such a mental block with it, and you just say, "Oh." But
That was a nice noise.
I think it just, that's what I would do. Rewards, treats, break things up. Try to tack some of it onto the school day so it doesn't feel like it's taking up your time. It's actually just a slightly longer college day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there'll always be someone who's more shit at it than you.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's hard being a teenager. I'm sorry, that's the worst thing to say ever to a teenager, but it is just shit, and it will not be like that forever. Because it goes away. You just have to crank it out.
Yeah.
Get it over and done with. My teenage years, I would not want anyone to go through that. Oh my
It
God.
sounds pretty harrowing
It weren't
in
good.
multiple ways.
Well, a psychologist would probably say it makes sense why I'm such a winner now.
I feel like my teenage years were so sheltered in comparison to yours.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, let's not get into that. Thanks for your message, Leonard. And to all potential Leonards out there, if you would like to write into us with a query and a quandary, and that can include something creepy and haunting paranormally.
I thought we've had enough of those.
Oh, we've had enough of those. We've had enough. We don't need any more of those.
So many.
We don't need any more of those. But please feel free to write in. It doesn't have to be about education. It can be about work. It can be about
Any
your love
topic.
life, friends, family,
We
whatever
are
it is.
now starting to wind down season 1, but we will be... I think we'll be revisiting this for season 2.
Yes,
At
I
some
think
point
we
soon.
decided this was only going to be 6, and we'd see how it was going. But I think it's at this point we should do a second round of this. At
Yeah.
some point in the future, we'll take a little break.
So if you would like to be featured, I mean, we've still got maybe like 1 episode left that we're looking for content. But if you would like to be featured in a future season, by all means, please send us an email, novympia@gmail.com with the subject Absolute Agony.
So that was, I'd like to repeat because Nova really fucked that. The email address is novympia@gmail.com and make the subject Absolute Agony.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. If you're watching this on YouTube, then of course give us a thumbs up. Maybe subscribe if you like and leave a comment about whether your school was like mine or like Nova's. And low-key, if you're also in America or anywhere else in the world, does one of ours sound a lot more like what you kind of experienced? Because that's weird. And elsewhere, if you're listening to us, then head over to YouTube and you can find all of the stuff we've got going on over there.
Yes, you can search Novympia anywhere and you'll find us there.
You'll find us. We're going to go probably have a bit of lunch.
Have a bit of lunch and then do another episode.
Come back for next week. We'll be there in 2 weeks, actually.
2 weeks.
Yeah. So we'll record the next one in 2 weeks, Nova, won't we?
Wearing the same clothes.
Signing out. Sayonara.
All right, goodbye. And a huge welcome to our newest patrons, Eric Ortega, Bjorn Hansen, Monster from the Future, and Nova Spike.
Are we not changing?
I wasn't going to.
Oh.
I don't think it really matters, does it?
Wow, how hard is it to put a different t-shirt on?
Join the Patron, we'll do a shot of Patron.